right, we're just going to get into our discussion before we went in, for that break. Okay, let me rephrase my question because I believe it's already obvious what our guest Segun Mishaki would be responding to. So let me just, throw in another question.
Okay.
We will change our habits and we will change Nigeria, and that's according to Buhari. What's your take on that one? Of course, I was going to ask you what your impressions are about the performance of the 2016 budget. You might want to throw that in too.
Yeah, of course. The performance of 2016 budget there's nothing so significant that deviates from the usual performance of Nigerian budget processes, implementation. Everything is all about the implementation. Even though the government said it has achieved about 79% of the work. That's according to them, and that's according to giving out the money. But it's not just the money that build the road. It's not just the money that strengthen the electricity supply. It's not just the money. The real question is how has the money been implemented and what are people feeling outside? So if you ask me as a citizen, maybe 30%. But where government is not the actual body that will come out and start doing the work. But even if it's 79, let's see what we are faced with. It's the usual problem. We have the budget, we do the analysis of the budget, and that's all. Nobody talks about implementation. Nobody gauge the government how far they've done or whatever. And then we'll change.
We'll change our habits and change Nigeria.
I don't think Nigeria's problem is that of habit. Everybody has habits. In fact, if you look at some developed countries, countries are known to be huge exporters. They are also huge importers. Because I know the government is talking from the perspective of importation. If you don't have what you need to consume, you will import. That's a rational habit. That's rationality. It's not something. If you don't have something good in your country, because of the ease of doing business, the environment, you can't force people to buy what you don't produce. So I don't think the issue of changing our habit. We have good habits, and the habit is we want good things. So if Nigeria start producing good things, people will buy it. We have the population, so that
I think I like that perspective, because the point is, if you look at the young guys or young people, there are young people making Made in Nigeria T-shirts with all sorts of logos, and then they put icons of different, like the Obudu, Olumo Rock and Zuma Rock, with all of, and Nigerians sometimes try to patronize some of them. It's just a little way of, okay, that's the trend now, so let's follow it. But let's come to the issue here. The 2016 budget was called the budget of change, and it was actually meant to change things. That's the case, baby. Now, you gave it about 30% performance. In that 30%, within the 30% frame of your rating, what has really changed?
Well, I would say that if you look at, let's start with the problem we have faced, the government is facing recession. The first approach, especially in terms of bailing out the states, I will give them that credit. That's a very fast move and very intelligent move also, because if government had failed in that aspect, this situation would have been worse. So to me, that takes about 20%.
But we shouldn't also forget that the states have never really been this broke before.
Yeah, of course, because we know the problem of states. They also rely on the money from the federal government, and now that, to me, that's a good
So
move.
you're saying that bailout was a sound decision?
Yeah, very sound.
Has it been worth it? Looking at what they've done with the funds?
Yeah, to some extent. I'm not sure whether that is sustainable, but as at that time, it was a good move.
What are the things you can point to in terms of what they actually used the funds for? Because you had, arguments about whether it was
the funds were diverted for other
projects. Exactly. And in whose place was it to actually supervise what they use the monies, for, and all of that?
Yeah, I think the federal government also said through the Ministry of Finance that they give them some conditions, what you have to follow. So that conditions to me kind of, okay, let's gauge what you need it for. And again, don't forget, it's not meant for any other purpose than just to pay salaries. So it's not going to show in any development, everything will just
Okay, we'll come back to this. Now, in July, the federal government, through the finance minister, declared that Nigeria is in recession after the economy witnessed negative growth in the first 2 quarters of the year.
Now, since then, the economy has been in crisis as government revenue continues to dwindle. In the first quarter of 2016, the GDP contracted by 0.36%, and in the second quarter, the economy recorded a negative again and contracted by minus 2.06%. Now, the situation was the same in the third quarter as the GDP contracted by minus 2.24%.
The resurgence of militant activities in the Niger Delta region, coupled with the rising inflation and continuous fall in the Naira, did not help matters at all. Now, these factors impose significant fiscal strains on federal revenue. And the 2016 budget was predicated on an exchange rate of 197 Naira to a dollar. But since then, the exchange rate has shot up and now currently stands at 305, and that is what the benchmark for the 2017 budget is pegged at, even though there are about 5 parallel figures right now at which exchange rates of the country.
That seems to be sending the wrong signals, according to experts. Now, oil production in the 2016 budget is pegged at 2.2 million barrels per day capacity. Although the production dropped significantly, it has since been hovering around 1.6 million barrels and 1.9 million barrels. So, Dr. Mishaki, what do you think made the 2016 budget not to perform optimally? Some actually, scored it an F9. I guess yesterday here said it's a total just F9, simple.
Well, to me, I don't want to. Yes, to some extent, some of these economic realities affected the implementation. Affected the projection of what the government was projecting to have. But I don't want to see this as the main reason why 2016 budget looks as if it fails. To me, it rests primarily with the government. Even if the oil price has fallen and we are into recession and everything seems to be, you are not getting the little that you have, we can still make it to be serious impact. Look at compared to 2015, what we have in 2016. Even though the oil has fallen, but we went into borrowing. So I don't want to believe some of these factors really contributed to the massive implementation gap that we see in 2016. In fact, we are still going to see how the remaining part of 2016 budget will be implemented before the 2017. So to me, I think the main factor is the fact that the government needs to wake up in the area of implementation. Yeah.
Well, but we know that there hasn't been a wake up, if I have to use your word, for the whole year. And if there were economic realities that made the 2016 budget not to be implemented, these realities are still with us.
That's true.
So what's the hope that going into 2017, because the increment in the budget is just by about just 8 trillion or something.
Yeah.
So what's going to be different in 2017?
Yeah, let's look at it from this perspective so that we don't start, painting a bad picture,
a gloomy picture of the future.
Let's go technical first of all.
I'm so glad you said that. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so the budget is primarily aimed to encourage the private sector involvement. So it's going out into building infrastructure and strengthening the power sector, roads, and the rest. And for the first time, and again, though you have a nominal increase compared to 2016, but in the real value, it's lower than 2016. In nominal, you have about 20% increase compared to what we had last year. This year, but it's actually lower because of the exchange rate.
Yeah.
It's almost half of what you have, what you are presenting now. Okay. So, and again, the focus of the budget is to get us out of this recession. So it's mainly recovery. And if you look at the national plan, also the recovery and growth plan, the entire aim is to say, okay, let's get out of this situation first, and then let's look at how we grow for the next 3 years, 2017 to 2020. So look at the assumptions. You look at the oil price, 305. To me, it's okay. That's really realistic. But my concern is when you look at
as exchange rate.
That's exchange rate rather. But when you look at oil price, to me it's too pessimistic because
42.5
yes.
dollars per barrel.
Yes.
Why? Why do you say so?
Good. If you look at what is happening in the global energy, presently we have something that around 50.
50.
And now you see the collaboration between the OPEC and non-OPEC countries to make sure that they strengthen this. Of course, we're not going to see anything that goes out of CC because the issue of shale gas and the rest US output will still make it to be around that. But we can not obviously, and we're even excluded from reduction in the output and Libya. So if other oil-rich countries are reducing output in order to force the price to come out, we can't be talking about 43 or 40 point something. That to me, that is too pessimistic. Well, that is okay for us.
What would you have recommended?
I would have recommended something like, excuse me, something like 46 over throughout next year, minimum 46. But that's okay because we are not going above what we are. That's still okay. Secondly, look at the budget, look at the deficit. How do we source it? We already have huge debt profile, about 16 trillion naira as of June 2016. And now we are going for 2 point something, that's 18 or almost 19. And we have debt servicing 1.6. So we are doing good when it comes to
debt. And they still talk about borrowing of $30 billion.
Yeah, from
which
both.
Oyegun, the chairman of the APC, says if this government is going to achieve anything as far as infrastructure, power, and all the rest of them, if this government will achieve anything, that it must borrow this money.
Yeah, according to them.
What does the what
add
reading are
it
we
together
supposed to?
and tell us where we are heading to. That might jeopardize the implementation and the success of 2017 budget. Because
borrowing that amount of money, there's the issue of inflation. And we talked about the fact that these were some of the realities that stood against the proper implementation of the 2016 budget.
Yeah.
And if we're going to throw all that money, we had an economist here who has been talking about the issue of excess liquidity in the system. And it makes nonsense sometimes. It trivializes the value of the monies you put out there.
Yeah.
All right, now, anyway, we'll come back to this. Yeah. Let's go on a break and then we come back. And don't forget that this time we'll be going out on TVC Entertainment. Yeah. And viewers there can continue with the program on TVC on Concert Channel 190 and DSTV Channel 418. They can also go to GoTV 45 and ACTV 510. So stay tuned and we go and come back. Don't go anywhere. We're still on TVC Breakfast.
Right, you're welcome back. It's TVC Breakfast. We're taking a look again at the 2016 budget and how the recession may have affected it or not.
Or not, exactly.
Okay. Dr. Olusegun Bishaki is right here in the studio with us, and we've been looking at this. Okay, so yes, you were making a point earlier before we went on that break on the real factors that may have led to the failure of the 2016 budget. You said the real missing link is implementation.
Yeah.
And what are the guarantees that with 2017 budget, you will not have the same problem? But then again, the main issue we're trying to point out there, the amount of liquidity that is out there. Yeah. And then there's still the perception that we cannot really make progress if we don't borrow this $30 billion. And the question that you raised, how will the budget deficit be financed and all of that?
Yeah, if you look at 2016, the reason why I strongly believe that the major issue we should be looking at is how do we implement it. In the Ministry of Budget and Planning, National Planning, you have the M&E, maybe department or unit. I think there is need for the government to come out strongly in the area of monitoring the success, the progress of those implementation, rather than saying we've given this amount to this sector, to this NDA, or to this department to do this and that. If these have been coming out for us, for Nigerians, it's published, you already know how far the government is going with the power sector, how far these people will know what is happening. But obviously, 2016 budget of change, everybody was happy, but nothing is changing. 2017, I don't know how the government is trying to talk about that, but eventually the performance is not there and we are still going ahead to borrow more money. No problem, we'll get the money eventually, it will still go down. We can do with what we have if we really implement it. The problem of debt is not just for now. It's going to impact even the government in the next 2-3 years time. And it's going to affect
just
so many
years.
things. That is more dangerous than just 2017 budget.
We see in our budget there's a creation of funds for debt servicing.
Yes, 1.6 trillion naira.
Exactly. And some of these debts range back to about 10 years ago. Some of them even 20 years ago, depending on what. So if we're taking this amount of loans, it's not just even 2-3 years. It's still going to be on and on and on because there are accruals, interest accruals on our accruable, as the case may be, too. All of these funds by every year that we get along.
And generations down the line may have
to pay for it somehow. All
right, let's give you some more of this information we have for you. The 2016 budget was predicated on crude oil sales of $38 per barrel. But now that is not the case anymore. The price of crude at the international market has gone up. The commodity now sells for $51 per barrel.
Now, these challenging factors have led to the inability of the federal government to finance the 2016 budget. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, was reported to have said earlier in the year that the 6 trillion naira budget will only be partially implemented as a result of revenue shortfall, and he disclosed that the federal government's earning has declined by 40%, which of course is the situation.
Ministries, agencies and departments, MDAs, have not gotten monies allocated to them in full due to the massive shortfall in federal government earnings, and this has made implementation of capital projects impossible. In fact, the budget of some ministries were cut or reduced due to the recession. The budget of the Power, Works and Housing was reduced by 300 million naira.
And the Finance Minister, Kemi Adeosun, while speaking on funding ministries earlier in the year at the Senate, revealed that the federal government had released cash of 21.9 billion naira to the Agriculture Ministry compared to the 4 billion naira the ministry got last year, adding that the Transport Ministry got 22 billion naira compared to the 6 billion it received last year. Adeosun further disclosed that 74 billion naira was released to Works Ministry in 2 months compared to 19 billion he got for the whole of last year.
The minister also added that the budget will be implemented to at least 60% based on projections. Now let's go back to the issue of the MDAs. We did hear the president say that there will be a need to review some of their financing and all of that. Many of them will actually be slashed. So that's going to happen again in 2017.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to affect their performance?
Well, it depends on what government is trying to do there, because actually, and again, some of them are even being, some of the deficit financing we're talking about now, is the government is expecting this money to come from them. And the question we ask ourselves is that if you are bringing down the money you are giving them, their allocation, and you are expecting them to increase, for instance, custom, and you expect them to increase their revenue that you're going to get, the question is, are you not placing this, this weight upon them so that they will not be able to perform? And some of them are not even meant to collect revenue. Some of them are not meant. Some of them are just regulatory. They are to regulate the system. They are to facilitate trade. And so if you begin to give them the KPI of increase your revenue, and they know if they don't get that, they are likely going to be experiencing the down trend in terms of what the government will give them. And then everything will just start focusing on getting money from the people. We are in recession, and you are trying to make sure that the economy comes back. So to me, I don't really believe that government should be aiming at the MDAs in terms of getting substantial amount of money. Yes, the government can say, I'm slashing this money and I'm giving you, because to the government, you may know why you are doing that. Because those aspects are not really our problem. Our problem is, how do we come back with our infrastructure So the government is getting it right by saying, okay, about 30% or 35% will be going into infrastructure. Good. But that the government should be relying upon them to get some of this money may not always be a good idea, because it will have some direct and indirect implications on the economy and the welfare of the people.
All right. We often talk, like we have discussed here, even with the analysts we had the past few days, they've talked about the shortfall in the implementation of the budget. Yeah. Now let's get to the specifics of this implementation. Who and who, or what institutions, or who are those responsible for implementing this budget? How does it translate to the understanding or the satisfaction, or let me say, of Nigerians seeing the budgets being worked out around their society and environment? Who are the people responsible? What agencies?
Yes, let's start with this. You know, federal government will not just wake up and say, I'm giving you this amount of money. It's going to be based on what you have addressed, what you are pushing for the government, that based on an assessment, this is what I need. So from the beginning, the budget processing, the budget preparation and the rest, some of these MDAs don't actually have a strong grasp of what is happening in the sector or in the ministry or in the departments. That's first. So when you are given the money, what do you do with it? For instance, we keep hearing in the past sector that the minister today, you will say something, tomorrow you say we cannot get the light because this is a problem, you cannot, and you keep bringing in the money. You have not even addressed how to look at this militancy and say, okay, this is the major issue we have. So whatever money you are giving the ministry will not really come out. And infrastructure, road and power, these are major project-driven, huge project-driven activities. And so when you say, okay, this is a sector, how do we need to go ahead with this? You must first identify some key projects that you have planned to embark on. So when you give the contractors the money, the process of giving the contractors the money, the process of knowing that the contractors are genuine and real, the process of knowing how long it's going to take the contract, those things should be factored in. It's not all about I need so amount of money.
Speaking of contractors, yes. President Buhari did say in his speech that some contractors that have been owed for as long as 10 years, they will be looking at paying these people. And you wonder where this monies will be coming from.
Yeah.
But let's even look at, some of the milestones that happened in the course of the year in 2016, as far as trying to revive the economy is concerned. The AFDP, headed by Additional, did promise that within now and 2017, Nigeria may be getting some $4.1 or so billion to, recalibrate. Would that be the word?
Reactivate or stimulate
the economy. Do you think that amount of monies will actually, do something tangible?
Personally, I think we're used to that. Yes, we're used to government will get this, government will get that, and sometimes this will not even be to the credit of the government. It shows how government is weak when it comes to coordination of the economy. For instance, somebody will tell you today, Nigeria is going to borrow this $30 billion. Somebody will say, yes, this 2017 budget, we're going to borrow so amount from, and they just neglect that clause of $30 billion. Now somebody will just tell you from somewhere and say, oh, we need so billion from this, and then this also reveals that coordination is weak. And I still don't believe that these are the ways we can go. These are the things that the government can do.
What are the options left for government? Really?
The option, especially at this period, is very slim. But what the government should know is that however ambitious the budget might be or your plan might be, if you don't address the implementation, we've been having this for years. If you don't address the implementation and say from Lagos to Ibadan road, somebody started it, who are the people doing it, how long will you do it? Communicate with people. Show it how, talk about it. This is how far we've gone. 70% by so months, we're going to be through with this. Good. Let's address power. What are the challenges? Oh, we don't have enough gas. Oh, we have the militants. Oh, the gas producers are worried about the pricing mechanism. Oh, these are the issues that we should be talking about. We are not interested in just saying you are rolling out this billion into this sector because it will never materialize.
We want to see how they translate into that change and that transformation. It's all right. Dr. Segun Omishakin, thank you very much for coming on the program this morning. Thank you.